Alright, folks. So now let's get back to the chapters. Anyways, yeah, this is the main picture. Alright, so disclaimer. Yep, I gotta show this every time. This is a disclaimer. It's just that this time around it's on steroids. So here it is, our good old Tetrapordicus. Soon, everyone sat around in a full circle underneath the shade of the Tetrapordicus. Thus, Ephraim cleared his throat and flipped open his Bible to begin the discussion. So far, so good for us today. We were the ones actively raiding in the city and ended up contributing a lot to our organization. Therefore, I believe that this story best fits the lesson for today. It's the story of Jacob's two sons, who had killed all the men of Shechem city and successfully plundered it. He drank some wine and stretched his arms before continuing on with his talk. So, one day, the prince of the city lied together with the sister of those two sons and defiled her. Then, upon the prince's yearnings, the king approached Jacob's encampment, seeking marriage with her since she pleased the prince a lot. However, Jacob had his family fabricated a deception and told the king that only if every man of the city gets circumcised will they ever will they ever agree to the marriage proposal. When the king approached and made all his male citizens undergo circumcision, then on the third day after circumcision, the two sons went over with their troops, slew all the men who were lying around in front of the city walls in pain, and then plundered the entire city. Now, the focus here is the plundering part. But remember, plunder here meant stealing everything out of the city. So, it's much worse than what we have done unto Seleucia. Therefore, just think about it. The Lord Almighty allowing His chosen people, the Hebrews, to plunder out, or totally sack a city is proof in itself that the small raids that we do have a seal of approval from the Lord Himself. I am saying this because, again, in this raiding campaign, I've seen some of you here and there hesitating and seemingly thinking about your morals. So, I'm telling you that it's alright to happily raid during our raiding campaigns. Officer Kai raised his hand. But the two commandments go against your opinion. First, thou shalt not kill, and second, thou shalt not steal. So, can you please explain and justify your opinion? Ephraim nodded. Yes, it's actually simpler than you think. Those commandments are included in the Ten Commandments that Moses brought from Mount Sinai, and his audience were the Hebrews, which means that such commandments only applied amongst the Hebrews and the strangers who lived alongside them. That's how the Lord gave them free hand in killing the Gentiles and allowed them to kill as many as possible. In fact, he ordered that everyone be put to death in the promised land, since they will end up being thorns into the sides of the Hebrews. Therefore, we can apply the same thing to our state, the empire of the Romans with its capital in Constantinopolis. Those same rules will apply only unto the people living in our state, which means we wouldn't be penalized for killing or raiding in a city which isn't under our state's control. Officer Kai nodded. Yeah, I thought about that too. But what if it ends up that we kill and raid from the descendants of the Romans? I'm certain that the Sangarius River and Calicanus River raids involved at least some Roman victims. The mood under the Tetrapordicus shifted significantly in favor of Officer Kai, putting Ephraim in a disadvantaged position. Officer Ephraim chuckled. Emotionally speaking, it's sad and unjust to kill one of our own during our raiding campaigns. But if you think deeper into the Lord's commands of such killings, you could note that he ordered the Hebrews to kill everyone, both great and small. It's because no matter how small in hierarchy some of the enemies are, uh, they make some sort of contributions in making the city function and empowering the great ones. Then, if this procedure is converted into the locations that we have raided, then that'll mean that the Romans living in those areas are making contributions to the Turks ruling over them. And it's been known unto us that many of them even prefer their rule over our rule. So these nullify all the unjustness and sadness one may think of when hearing them. And that's why I stand with the justification of the raiding campaigns that we do. Lucio raised his hand. However, Ephraim shook his head and sighed. I think I know what you're about to ask. Are you thinking about why we slaughtered the Christian populace along with the Muslims in Seleucia, right? Lucio gasped and nodded. That's about the same thing as what Kai asked, but I'll give you a different explanation. Just as how you can't worship both the Lord and Satan at the same time. The Christians there can't get the same sympathies and protections that Christians in our empire get from us. Ephraim drank some wine. It's because they contribute to the Turks ruling over them in form of taxes and manpower, as Turks use many of them for war in Christian nations. Therefore, if those Christians don't want to be raided by us, then they must come live alongside us. Then the mood under the Tetrapordicus reverted back to Ephraim's favor. Even still, Lucio wasn't the one to give up. But then, why did you help out those beggars? Based on your explanations, that they are enemies of us too, aren't they? Ephraim sighed. Yes, you are right about that, but we didn't come here to raid. We came to the city to trade, take a rest, and have productive conversations with each other. When the Lord allows raiding, He's not ordering us to raid each and every enemy city that we come across to. Also, helping out those beggars was the best course of action that I could think of in order to have this area all to ourselves. Furthermore, Lucio, you really need to be flexible in your thoughts, because your big and most important goal of beating me in an argument is shading your keen analyzing potential that you have. Soon, laughter erupted under the Tetrapordicus, and Lucio gritted his teeth full of shame. Just accept it, Lucio. A guy of your level can never beat Officer Ephraim, Gilroy said. Vincent chuckled. Yeah, you're aiming at a long shot if you continue to live like that. Constance shook his head. Geez, you still haven't learned anything even after living with us for 2 years. Just grow up already. Lucio howled. Just shut up. Stop talking about me like that. And don't look at me like that. I was just trying to learn. Soon, Ephraim realized that no one else had any questions on him, so he passed over the speech staff right to his right, where Seth sat. Yes! Finally I get an early turn, Seth said to himself and planted the speech staff onto the ground to continue. Hey Magnus, how come you were slacking on the cargo ship again today? You didn't even come help us out when we were struggling against the enemies. Magnus cleared his throat. I was helping archers organize the raided goods. Seth frowned. Come on, only archers were ordered to do that. Everyone else was supposed to defend. Ephraim glanced at Seth and wondered. It wasn't usually so that Seth would antagonize someone other than Lucio or Kai, but he let him be, since the topic was getting crucial to the group. Magnus sighed. Yeah, but they were short on hands, so I went there to help. Seth grunted. We were all short on hands, so you shouldn't have gone off like that. Gilroy and Gibson were looking for you to back them up with Benson. Magnus' face became red in anger. And what allows you to judge me that I went off? You went off on your own too on a killing spree, then you couldn't even move much for a long while because you've overexhausted yourself. I went to fight. I went to kill. While you stayed back like a coward, Seth started grimacing. And don't you dare judge me on my killing spree. I thinned out so many of them for all of us. Who do you think you are calling me a coward? I was being strategically minded and saving up my stamina for the crucial times, Magnus said. Seth clenched his fist. You should realize that. Staying at the ship while others fight isn't being strategically minded. You say what you want, Seth. That doesn't mean that what you're stating is true. Magnus pointed at Seth. You know what? You're such a trash. Don't assume that everyone thinks and acts like you. Seth stomped on the ground with his fist. Well, you're just being... Thomas cleared his throat. That's enough, Seth. Seth quickly looked at Thomas. I didn't give you permission to speak. Thomas carefully looked at Seth. Again, he saw such rage in Seth's eyes, and it wasn't good. Just calm down. Let me say something. Well, but you need to go away now, because you interrupted me while I was speaking as a speaker with the speech staff, Seth said. Thomas sighed. Okay, Seth, I may do that. He looked around. But who agrees that I should leave for now? Nobody raised their hand. Stay here, Captain, Officer Kai said. Thomas nodded triumphantly. Come now, Seth. You know the rules. Whoever interrupts the speaker's speech gets banished for a while. But whoever receives full support from all other members gets a free hand in speaking whatever's in his mind and could as well take over the whole conversation, even if he isn't the speaker. So, you need to accept my right to speak. Seth clenched his fist and breathed heavily numerous times. Okay, whatever. Thomas smiled. Thanks. He then cleared his throat. Hey, Magnus, let us set aside from deciding whether you are a coward or not by helping out at the ship. But instead, think back at the time when you and your members were brought along for a rebuke by Commander Kairos. Of course, it wasn't really a rebuke, more like an easy conversation full of chuckling. But you guys still agreed that you'll always help out with fighting when such occasions arise from time to time. Simply said, you and your members were supposed to go to the fighting zones unless you guys were ordered otherwise. So this time, your members helped out. He nodded at them and gave them thumbs up. But you still didn't help out. So it's all on you now, and you know what the most likely punishment will be. Constance suddenly chuckled out loud. Thomas turned to face him. Hey, what's up? Do you have something fun to share with us? Constance continued chuckling. Yeah, Magnus, you'll be joining me and the archers in lavatory cleaning duties for sure. So thank you. Placidus chuckled along, and Thomas chuckled. Then many others chuckled. When chuckling subsided, Thomas looked back at Seth. I hope that's it. So go on speaking whatever you want to say. Seth stared at Thomas blankly for a while, then suddenly nodded. Oh, right. He looked around at others and shrugged. Well, I got nothing now. Honestly, I don't even know what I was going to say. Then Seth gave the speech staff to Edvin. Edvin smirked while glancing at Seth. Apparently, that guy had laid out a great path for him to march along. Hey, Gilroy. Back then when we were retreating from the village dock, you grabbed up many coin bags and stashed them in your baggage. Mind if you tell us your future plans regarding them? Soon, Gilroy's facial expression became very sour. I shall not comment. Edmund flinched, but immediately smiled in triumph. Come on, Gilroy. We are formally speaking under this Tetraporticus with more than 5 other audiences, so you know that you have to tell us about it. Gilroy clenched his fist. I said, that's none of your business. So, go and pick on someone else. Edmund chuckled. Of course it's my business too, Gilroy. You were there quickly enriching yourself through false means, so that's definitely my business too. I can't let you have free money while I go on working hard for my pay. Gilroy grimaced and looked at Edmund. You, you just shut up. Just shut up already. Thomas raised his hand, so Edmund gladly pointed the speech staff at him. Hey, Gilroy, based on what Edmund told us, that seems like much more than the share of loot that you're allowed to take. You know that you're only allowed to take 1 share of loot, right? If you're an officer, then you can take 2, and if you're a captain, then 3, and commander, 4. Gilroy nodded. Thomas cleared his throat. It seems you do know, so unless said otherwise, that 1 share would mean a single armament, a small pouch of coins, or a merchandise. And the choice must not be so pricey or else it'll be confiscated. Therefore, we need to talk later on with Commander Kairos present, so that he could give you a rightful punishment. Understood? Yes, Captain, Gilroy said. Thomas nodded. Sounds good, then. He suddenly flinched and looked at Gilroy's group members. Hold up. Did you guys know about this? Vincent shook his head. Oh, of course not. We were making sure that we don't mess up this time, but... He sighed. Well, who knows what happened? Gibson and Magnus nodded along. Okay, I thank the Lord that it wasn't the group's collusion, Thomas frowned. However, it's not good to see that your group is not faring so well compared to others when it comes to adhering to the regulations of the fortress. So far, I've been covering for you guys misdemeanors, explaining to the executives that you guys need more training to become better soldiers. But by now. Wait, you were covering for us all along? Vincent said. Well, yeah, that's what the captains are supposed to do, so that the soldiers could avoid severe punishments from time to time. Still, though, I really need you guys to pick things up and help me out by simply following the rules. I'm not asking for so much. So, Magnus and Gilroy, just follow and obey the rules from now on. And Vincent and Gibson, you guys need to work harder in keeping your members accountable, okay? Gilroy and other guys nodded. Yes, Captain. Thomas sighed. Yeah, I'm done speaking now, so continue. Edwin smiled and nodded. I'm done too. He handed the speech staff to Andel. I have a question to ask Officer Ephraim. Andel suddenly stopped speaking and thought for a while. Wait, never mind. Let us pass that one. But instead, I'm curious. We made sure that we went for the city to make a surprise assault, but it was obvious that they were ready for us. You know, how the gate was shut and locked. So, how? Silence fell underneath the Tetraporticus. Oh man, there it goes again. So, yeah, I just lost track. Alright, got back. Vincent raised his hand. Maybe some city guards who were patrolling outside spotted us first and alerted the rest. Undel shook his head. No, I am not convinced. There is just no way that someone who wasn't expecting any calamity to be so diligent like that. Vincent chuckled. Come on, we're not the only ones who raid in this world. Maybe that city has been the victim of many raiding groups in the past. No, I just feel like something was off with our rating this time. It felt really off, Andel said. Placidus slowly raised his hand. You see, Andel, me, Constance, and Simeon here partook in village raiding, along with the medium melee infantry platoons. We did everything in order, but by the time we arrived at the second village, almost everyone had been evacuated. So I think the villagers found out about us because of all the ruckus we had caused in the first village. Constance raised his hand. Hey, Placidus, didn't we round up everyone who was trying to play? Placidus shrugged. Yeah, but someone could have slipped out, or someone from the second village could have spotted us. Andel nodded. Okay, thanks guys, I understand now. I'll ask the executives later on for further information. Also, we should do a better job raiding the villages next time. Then Andel passed the speech staff to Officer Kai. However, Officer Kai stated that he felt content with asking questions to Ibrahim before, so he passed it to Lucio. That's right, Kai. Give it here. Lucio took the speech staff. Hey, Simeon, how come you were frequently away from the work zones? For example, back then when all of us were busy hauling raiding goods to the harbor, I saw you slacking off with the Lord's horse, just chillin' and riding him with that sneaky smile on your face. Then, when we returned back to the village dock, you weren't even around until right before the enemies showed up. So, can you explain what was going on? Simeon frowned. Right from the start, when he had agreed on Placidus and Constance's suggestion that he join Captain Thomas' discussion group, he felt that something wasn't right. Somewhere deep inside of his mind constantly told him to reject their offer. He didn't know what it was or why he was getting such a negative feeling. But here came the answer. It was Lucio whom many people had trouble conversing with. Seeing Simeon frown, Lucio smiled in triumph. Come on, Simeon. Just as Magnus and Gilroy told, you need to tell us what was going on. Simeon sighed. He really didn't feel like having to defend himself, but because of how everyone else was looking at him as if he had committed a serious crime, he had no other choice. Hey, Lucio, just to let you know, I'm a spy, and a spy frequently receives orders from the commanders to scout out a location and deliver information in that location so that they could have some knowledge of their surroundings. So I was simply doing my work. Lucio grimaced. But you were always moving around and hiding from our view. What's up with that? Spies move around a lot and hide a lot. That's what they're supposed to do, Simeon said. Lucius scowled very much and started trembling. No, 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 that's not it. He breathed deep a couple times. Suddenly, Placidus raised his hand. Stop it, Lucio. It's his first time joining us and you attack him like that? Have some manners, and I won't accept your accusation, because Simeon is definitely not like a guy that you're talking about. Even though Lucio didn't point the speech staff at Placidus, he just went with it because he got very impatient. Lucio gritted his teeth. Placidus, get lost. You interrupted when I was formally speaking. Placidus flinched. You better not be joking. He looked around. Hey, who objects to my interruption? Vincent chuckled. Not me. Lucio here is just grabbing at Hayes, trying to float, even though he is already so far from the truth. Placidus nodded. I know, right? He has no idea of what he's speaking right now. He looked around again. See, Lucio, nobody objected to my interruption, so I take charge now. Suddenly, someone raised his hand. And there it stops, at the cliffhanger. Who was it? Take a guess. It is not Thomas. Alright, with that, I end it here and see you guys later.